This is Football Night in America, served by Applebee's.
Hello, hello. Sunday number 4 of the National Football League season in the books with Tony Dungy, Mike Tirico, Rodney Harrison, and Mike Florio. Rodney, I'm going to start with you because certain teams just draw headlines. Like Cleveland's 3-1. We should be excited about that, except what's the story coming off that game? Dallas gave up 49. They've given up over 120 points the last 3 games. When you watch what's happening with the Cowboys, what are you seeing through the first 4 games here?
Well, the thing that stands out to me, Mike, is just defensively how selfish they are on defense. Everyone seems to be doing their own thing, trying to make plays outside of the defensive scheme. And then when they're in a position to make a play, they don't make the play. They miss the tackle. They blow the coverage. Coach talked about it earlier in the pregame show as far as getting back to just fundamental football, keeping the safety in the middle. If you have Odell Beckham on the goal line, double team him, not putting some just average cornerback out there on him. So they have a lot of things to show up, especially on the defensive side.
Yeah, Aldon Smith has really helped them as a pass rusher, but that's about the only bright spot you see in this defense. Not anyone else able to get pressure on the passer. Very poor tackling, very poor gap control. In the secondary, can't make a play.
You know, Mike Florio, it's always Dallas's issue 1, topic 1, when things are going wrong down there. And when you watch these couple of games, you've got to be sitting there wondering, what is Jerry Jones feeling? I know it's only a quarter of the way through. The division's not good, so there's no reason to panic. But this is not what they expected when they made the change to Mike McCarthy.
Oh, absolutely not. And all you have to do is pull up Twitter during any Cowboys game, and Jason Garrett's name inevitably is trending. They want Big Red back, or Little Red.
Back.
Big Red's doing well. Little Red didn't do so well in Dallas. And, yeah, they don't understand it. When Dak Prescott is playing out of his mind, he set a record for yards in consecutive games with nearly 1,000, but you can't make a stop on defense. You can't get off the field. You can't keep the other team from scoring points. You're getting shredded each and every week. It's unbelievable to see what's going on. Again, a team that every year looks talented,
right?
High expectations, and when it's time to deliver, they can't.
I'll flip this to Tony for a sec because you change defensive coordinators. Can we just talk football-wise about you go from Rod Marinelli, terrific coordinator, Mike Nolan, very respected coordinator, but it's a different style, and the players may not be the exact same fit.
No question about it. Mike Nolan is a good football coach. He's got a great system, but Rod Marinelli was there that for the last 5 or 6 years, they've drafted players for his style. Smaller defensive linemen, active, quick guys, secondary players who are basically zone coverage men. And now you're asking these guys to change and become two-gapping up front defensive linemen. They don't have that style of player, and it's going to take a while to get them. They don't have man-to-man coverage corners. It's just a bad fit. It's square pegs and round holes right now.
So, Rodney, do I start believing in 3-1 Cleveland?
No, not yet, Mike. It's a month within the season. It's a month within the season,
and
all of a sudden you want to talk
Cleveland.
about. Did you just hear what Coach said? He just talked about the defense. He just talked about the Cowboys' defense.
Right.
I'm going to wait another month before I make a comment about the Cleveland Browns.
Fair on that. They play Indy and Pittsburgh the next couple of weeks. But, Mike, you spoke to Kevin Stefanski, their coach, today.
Yeah, and think about how they were embarrassed week 1, and there were the same old stories and tales of dysfunction coming out of Cleveland after that first game, forcing the ball to Odell Beckham Jr., and is he really happy there, and is this going to work? They've won 3 in a row, and today they got the ball to Odell Beckham Jr. early, and Stefanski told me, I challenge myself to do that. I need to do that, whether we're throwing it to him, whether he's running it. And after Nick Chubb got hurt, Odell Beckham became part of the running attack. They had 307 rushing yards, and Nick Chubb only had 43 of them. So they are running the ball well. They're getting Odell Beckham Jr. involved. And what was happening today in Dallas, this is a team that only goes there once every 8 years.
Right.
And Myles Garrett grew up in the area. Baker Mayfield's from Texas. Odell Beckham Jr. knows the Cowboys well from when he was with the Giants. They stepped up on that big stage. And, hopefully they can keep that vibe going in other games. But I think that the moment today was something they decided to reach out and grab.
But you know what I love about Kevin Stefanski? Every coach probably for the last 6 years has gone in there. We're going to get the passing game going. We're going to get Baker Mayfield going. We're going to have all this genius
stuff.
Genealogy, I guess I'd call it. And what he has said, you know what? Nick Chubb is my best offensive player. And Kareem Hunt's a great runner, and I've got a good offensive line. And we'll get these receivers going. We'll get one-on-ones. But if we pound people, then that's how we're going to win games. And he hasn't tried to win the statistical game. He hasn't tried to get those receivers all their touches. I hear what Mike is saying, but this is going to flow through their running game first, and that's why they're winning.
All right, let me flip this over to Tampa Bay and Tom Brady. Rodney, as you watch Tom, and now you see a month, are you seeing a progression here of comfort and fitting in with Arians, with all the other receivers in Tampa, and all the stuff that we've speculated on for the last few months?
Well, Mike, initially when he threw that pick six, I was like, oh, my goodness, here we go again. And, you know, Tom talked about it. He says each week he's getting more and more comfortable under the offense and getting to know his players and what Bruce wants and what he expects and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about what Tom did. For him to push the ball down the field, 5 touchdowns, spreading the ball around, having success running a football, and really not afraid to go to different weapons. I mean, O.J. Howard was a guy that made some big plays, eventually got Rob Gronkowski the ball. You know, obviously with Mike Evans, they have that connection, but yeah, man, I was really impressed with what Tom did, but I was scared to death after he threw that pick six. I'm like, okay, Tom, you're starting to show your age a little bit.
You know, Tom, playing against him so many years, it's always been about that precision and the timing, and you just need game reps to get that. And we saw it a couple of weeks ago with Mike Evans, where you felt like he had it. But he's starting to develop that with other guys. He's going to get better as the season goes on, no doubt about it.
Mike Florio, am I silly for leaving that game? Like, okay, I expected Brady to start doing this. But I walk away with Justin Herbert and I go, okay, Chargers got a guy here. This is the real deal. I know it's a very small sample, but every time Brady and the Bucs responded, he came right back and made another play.
Yeah, he was awesome that game a couple of weeks ago against the Chiefs when he got pressed into service at literally a moment's notice. Last week was a disappointment against Carolina, but he stepped up against Tom Brady, and he gave them everything they could handle. And, you know, and one thing Herbert needs to learn from watching Brady, when you're down by 17 points, you can't fold the tents. Too many quarterbacks give up in that spot. And this is classic Tom Brady. And I thought what Bruce Arians said after the game was so important. Last year, we never would have had a chance in a game like this. This year with Tom Brady, we've seen him do it time and again. You're never out of a game, even when it's 28-3. And I think that's going to serve the Buccaneers well down the road. And witnessing it may help Justin Herbert down the road, too.
But Justin Herbert is going to be just fine. And I understand what Anthony Lynn is saying. Well, gosh, Tyrod Taylor gives us the best chance to win, because you do see that weird play from Justin at the wrong time. But, man, play this kid, and he's going to get better and better, and I know they're going to believe in him.
He goes down.
Hey, let me just say this, Mike.
Yeah, sure.
Let me say this, Mike Tirico. They don't stand a chance to go very far with Tyrod Taylor. I respect him. He's a veteran player, and he's been a good player in this league for a long time. But if you want to go to that next level, the time is now. And I don't know what Anthony Lynn is, what film he's watching, but the film that I watch, I'm very impressed with Justin. He's done a terrific job, and the thing that I love about him is just how cool and calm he is. He doesn't seem to get rattled. Coach, you mentioned it earlier in the pregame show. Yeah, he has a tendency to throw one pass up there that, you know, might end up in an interception, but like you said before, it comes with reps. And once he continues to get those reps, he's going to build more confidence, and he's going to understand when not to take those chances.
I know football's one game at a time, right? And I'm going to hold the next game for a second. After next week, here's what the Chargers do. They play the Jets, Miami, Jacksonville, Las Vegas, Denver. So they're going to have a chance here to get some wins. So maybe next week will be important. And they go to New Orleans next week, which gets me to the Saints here. Drew Brees, being there last Sunday, so much conversation. Drew said, my arm's fine. Watching him in practice, he was pushing the ball down the field. Today, Tony, against Detroit, down 14 early, we saw them push the ball down the field a little bit more.
And what you have to understand, for so many, the last 3-4 years, those down-the-field throws were to Michael Thomas. He's thrown thousands of balls to him. He doesn't have that same timing with Emmanuel Sanders yet, but you saw it start to come.
Yeah.
Traquan Smith, it's there. So I saw him cut some balls loose today, and that's got to be good news for the Saints fans. I think it's not a matter of can he throw it, it's does he have that timing.
Rodney, you feel better about Brees?
what I saw as a team, I saw experience and I saw patience. And the thing that I liked about them is once they got down early, they didn't completely abandon the run. In previous years, maybe Sean Payton drops back and he throws the ball 40, 50 times, but they stuck with the run. And I thought Drew did a great job of getting everyone involved. And, you know, I also like Coach when they have two running backs. I think that puts Alvin Kamara out in the slot, getting him involved in the passing game. I like what they did today.
Detroit scored the first 14. They scored the last 15. Usually you win that game every time, and the Lions lost it. And Mike, at 1-3 in a division where Green Bay set the pace, Chicago lost, Minnesota finally got on the board. It's going to be really tough for Bob Quinn in Detroit and Matt Patricia to kind of get things back together. They're going to have to do it very quickly after this bye at 1-3 through the first quarter of the season. You're absolutely right. You know, with Bill Belichick assistants who go elsewhere, a lot of them say, I'm going to do it my way. But there's a big part of the Belichick DNA that is imprinted upon you as a coach. And you come in and you rub people the wrong way because you're changing a bad culture. You're holding people accountable. People don't like it. So if you don't win, there's going to be pushback. And he's encountered that. And I think there really is a shelf life on the Belichick way, whether you're consciously adopting it or not, because if you don't win, guys aren't going to buy in. And I feel like that's been one of the big challenges for both Quinn and Patricia, who came from that shop.
And Mike, the problem there is Detroit did not have a bad culture when he came in. Mm-hmm. You can talk about changing it the way you want. Jim Caldwell was there. They were winning. They were a playoff team. It wasn't maybe what they wanted, but those players understood they had a good culture that didn't necessarily need to be changing. So I think it's even more difficult.
I think that's a great point. It makes it even harder because it wasn't broken. Yeah. It's one thing if you're 2-14 every year and you bring in a Belichick assistant who's going to whip everyone into shape, but we were competitive. It was okay, and now we make all these changes, and they expect things to be done the Patriot way, and the Patriot way isn't working. Lions aren't done just yet. They're off, then they go to Jacksonville and Atlanta. 2 games you certainly can win. Get back to 500 in a league where 7 of the 16 per conference are going to make it. You'll certainly have a chance as the season goes on. Let's go to the speed round here, guys. And Rodney, I will start with you. Better team around him, Josh Allen in Buffalo or Russell Wilson in Seattle? Both are dealing. Who's got more talent around him, in your opinion?
Man, that's tough. I would give the edge to Buffalo just based off of the defense, and I love their offensive line. They do a wonderful job of protecting Josh Allen. Tony?
I think Seattle has better receivers, but I think Buffalo has a more talented team all the way around when you factor in the offensive line and the defense.
Weird to say that, isn't it? When you factor in defense with Seattle, you say somebody else has got more talent. It's just different time. Mike? Yeah, look at the historic performance Russell Wilson has had so far this year. They should be blowing people out, and they're not because of that defense, so I'll say Buffalo as well. All right, topic 2 in the speed round. Tony goes first. Are you more impressed with the Colts defense, or are you more down on the Bears offense with Nick Foles at quarterback here this week?
I'm more down on the Bears offense. Obviously, we see that it wasn't just all the quarterback. You know, they've got to run the ball better. They've got a great receiver in Robinson. I don't see much else there, and they've got to get a little more creative, I think.
Rodney?
I would say I'm more impressed with the Colts defense and what they've been doing. Did I hear earlier that they're the #1 defense in the National Football League? But very impressed with DeForest Buckner, how he's come in, become a great leader. They did a great job of building that offensive line when they drafted Quentin Nelson. That completely changed the identity of that offensive line. And all of a sudden you add DeForest Buckner on the defensive line, and he's that stud, big physical guy, 6'7". He takes up 2 or 3 people, and it's the things that he does that's not on the stat sheet that they rave about.
Mike?
Yeah, Chris Ballard's done a great job of turning around a roster that had been left in shambles after Bill Polian, and I think it says a lot about the Colts defense. And the Bears don't have a whole lot of time to try to pick up the pieces. They play Thursday night against the Buccaneers.
That's exactly right. At Soldier Field. All right, which doesn't belong and why? The 2-2 Raiders, the 2-2 Cardinals, or the 2-2 Panthers? You can see how hard Tony, Rodney, and Mike are concentrating. It's just proof they don't know the questions before we ask them. But Rodney, you buzzed in first. I feel like Alex Trebek.
It's the 2-2 Cardinals, and to me, what Cliff Kingsbury is trying to do is they're reading too much into all this hype with Kyler Murray and his MVP talk, and it seems like he's designing his offense to put up numbers and not to win football games. It's about situations. It's about running the ball and doing things that you have to do to win football games. It's not about adding to records or trying to make your quarterback the MVP, and I think that's what they're trying to do.
Well, I would agree on Rodney's point of it being the Cardinals, but I think that is Cliff Kingsbury's offense. I don't think he cares who the quarterback is. That's what they're doing. People are going to catch up with that. You've got to be sound. You've got to be able to run the ball some, and Kyler Murray can't be your only threat.
Mike?
I'm going to say the Panthers. I'm going to look. The Raiders are a disappointment at 2-2. The Cardinals are a disappointment at 2-2. The Panthers are rebuilding. This is the worst development possible for the Jets because you can rebuild and still live in the house. You can do a remodel instead of a rebuild. And they're 2-0 without Christian McCaffrey. Maybe they shouldn't have paid him $16 million a year. It's unbelievable what the Panthers are doing, and it's a testament to Matt Rule turning this thing around dramatically and quickly and winning football games, and now they have to be taken seriously.
Yeah, and if they're good, Rod.
I'm sorry, Tirico. I was going to ask Mike Florio, why is the Raiders a disappointment at 2-2? Are you kidding me? You expect them to be better than that?
They were 2-0. Once you start 2-0, the expectations go up, baby. They wanted respect.
Man,
they wanted respect.
You didn't have the Raiders in the playoffs. You did not, Mike, you did not have the Raiders in the playoffs, so stop it. Stop it, Mike Florio.
Wow.
Okay.
Silenced. I was going to mention the Raiders and take offense to that statement, but then you guys would have thought I was sticking up for Gruden. But it's so nice to have Rodney Harrison come in and clean up the pile for me and take care of that. Thank you, Rodney Harrison.
They're doing a good job, man.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Gruden may be available to join us next week, depending upon what the league does to him for not wearing his mask.
The whole mask thing is an issue with a lot of folks around the league. Is every time you watch the game, it's like, okay, who has their mask on, who doesn't? And you understand that's why the league is doing a call with all the coaches, the GMs, and the owners. By the way, before we leave, the Panthers. The best thing I saw today, individual moment, was the Teddy Bridgewater shake and move in the run for a touchdown. When you think about how devastating that injury was with Minnesota, and he hadn't run for a touchdown in 5 seasons, that was so cool.
Mike, we had the Vikings the week after Teddy got hurt.
Right.
I went up there, and they were devastated because the injury was so bad, and this was such a great kid, and everybody felt bad. And to see him come back off of that and have a long run like that, and to see him in the locker room afterwards with the dance and everything, it was just fantastic. I'm so happy for him.
And we were reminded, no Christian McCaffrey these 2 games when they've won these 2, and the cast of guys who are catching passes go, oh, who's he? Where'd he come? Where'd he go to school? So good for the Panthers, good for Matt Rule. Have a great week, guys. We'll talk to you during the week. Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.